Hey, it's Teresa from Life Beyond Diabetes. And today I'm going to talk about something that I have found a little bit confusing until a couple days ago, I actually had wrong. So I learned something new recently. Let me take off my glasses. And what that is that the concept of diabetes reversal and remission. And usually when people talk about diabetes, they talk about diabetes, the medical term is that it is a chronic progressive disease, which chronic means that it's always going to be there, and progressive means that it's going to get worse. So, you'll see a lot of times diets in particular advertised as reverse your diabetes, and this is the diabetes reversal diet, or if you do this, you can reverse your diabetes. And I've always thought, you can't reverse your diabetes, because once you have diabetes, you always have it. And not because it's chronic and progressive, but because there's some physiological changes that have taken place in your body that once they've taken place, they're always there. So you can make changes that affect your blood sugar, and you can get off all your medication, and you can normalize your blood sugars, and it can look like you don't have diabetes anymore based on your lab values. But if you stop doing those things, the diabetes will come back. So that doesn't seem like reversal to me. At least that's what I thought. And then I was listening to some continuing education this week, and I learned that there's actually, now the definitions aren't completely agreed upon by the numbers, but there is actually a medical term for reversing diabetes. And the difference is that I thought that reversal meant cure. There is no cure for diabetes, but you can reverse your diabetes. And by reversing it, that means that you're making lifestyle choices that get your blood sugar down to, depending on what definition you look at, down to either a number that is in the pre-diabetes range or completely within the normal range. It depends on which definition you look at. And some of the definitions say you need to be completely off all your medication related to diabetes, and some of them say you need to be off your medication except for metformin, because metformin is used for other things in addition to diabetes. So, this isn't, the literature is very divided about what the definitions are, but there's a lot of literature that says you can reverse it. And I was really excited to hear that, because I have been calling that remission, because I knew that it was possible to get, with lifestyle changes, to get off your medication and to get down to a normal, non-diabetic level in your lab values. Having said that, diabetes is still, for most people, a chronic and progressive disease. It's chronic because it is always going to be there. Like I said, even if you reverse it, it's not a cure, it's still there. It's in your body, it's in the background. And progressive, it is also progressive. If you don't make these changes really early on, becomes a lot harder to put it into reversal or remission. Let me just see what that comment says. Yes, low carbs also make a big change, and I can't read your whole comment, Elaine, but I'll have a look at that when I'm not live and get back to you. But one of the main ways that people do reverse, if you're looking at the technical, the definitions of it, one of the main ways that people do reverse their diabetes is through a low carb or even a ketogenic diet. There's some data that says that it can be done with other types of diets, but most of the good data looks at low carb as the diet that can do that. Then there's a further definition for something called remission, and remission says completely off your meds, and it gives it a time frame, and most of the definitions there are looking at a solid 1 year of being off your medications. And I believe that those numbers are a little bit more in agreement, and they're saying no medications, including not metformin, and being out of the pre-diabetes range as well. So that's a pretty significant change to get from type 2 diabetes into complete remission. But again, it is possible for a lot of people, particularly people who are earlier on in their diagnosis. So that's given me a lot to think about. And I will tell you that early on in my journey, you know, I've talked a lot about what my diabetes journey has looked like. Very much earlier on, I was able to at one point reverse my diabetes. I was off all my medication, and my blood sugars were completely within, I believe I had gotten down to a, not even a pre-diabetes range, but down to a normal blood sugar range. And unfortunately, at the time, I was seeing a doctor who didn't understand that that was an okay thing to do when you're doing it with diet and exercise and not with medication. And I was encouraged actually to bring my blood sugar back up because she was operating under the assumption that it was not okay to have such a low blood sugar, such a normal blood sugar once you've had a diagnosis, because she thought that that meant that I must be having some very low blood sugars as well. That's a whole different story. Now I know better. It's not what I teach my own clients. So anyway, chronic and progressive. On the other hand, there's also reversal and possibly remission. We know in the middle there is no cure. I'm going to leave you all with that. And if you have any questions about that, I am happy to talk about that a little bit more. And I'd love to hear your comments. And Elaine, you said something about your experience, and again, I can't read it because the whole comment isn't showing up for me, but anybody else who's watching the video, if you have any experience with reversing or putting your diabetes into remission or however long that lasted, I would love to hear that. So either drop me a DM or leave it in the comments. And I will see you right back here next Thursday at 2:30 Pacific for something else, another topic about diabetes. If you have anything specific you'd like me to talk about, let me know. I'll see you then. Bye.